Hello, Miss House here, and I'm going to show you in this video how to make the monster body with the line patterns. So for this project, you're going to need paper, you'll need a pencil, you'll need either a black marker, black crayon, or black colored pencil. It just depends on what you choose to outline your monster with. You'll need either crayons or markers, or if you choose to do paint, you can use paint. So what you're going to first do is you're going to end up drawing with your pencil onto your paper your monster's body. The size of your monster is going to be really important because if it's too small, you're going to have a really hard time drawing in your lines inside the body parts. So what you don't want is you don't want your monster to be this big. Notice how small it is on my paper, but also notice how small the limbs are of my monster. So when you make your monster, you want to make sure that you have wide parts and it fills your page. So what I've done for the purpose of this video is I have already pre-drawn a monster onto a piece of paper. I then am going to choose to outline my monster and marker. And I'm going to use Sharpie, but you can use, as I said, you can use a regular black Crayola marker, you could use a colored pencil, or you could use a crayon. That's entirely up to you. But I want mine to stand out a little bit, so I'm going to just quickly outline my monster and marker. But notice as I start outlining it, so you can really see the monster. Notice how thick my monster's limbs and body is. You want to have enough space so that you can add your pattern of lines into each section. If it's too small, then you're going to have a really hard time fitting those lines in. So I'm just going to quickly finish outlining this. But when you do it, you're going to take your time. I'm just making it quick so that I can show you the next step. My monster's neck and body, my monster's head, monster's antenna or ears, whatever you want to. Its head, its neck, its body, and its arms. So once you have the monster outlined, you're then going to want to break your monster up into sections. So each body part's going to have a different pattern. But with the torso, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to break its torso up into different sections just so that I have different areas that I can create some more patterns to. However many sections you break it up is entirely up to you. So then I'm going to go in and I'm just going to add in my monster's eyes and mouth for now, just so I have those shapes already in place. I'm not going to worry about adding in any details, I'm just going to get the general shape of it. Now what we're going to do is, this is where you can choose, you maybe switch to a colored pencil or a crayon, but inside each of the different sections of the monster, you're going to add in a different pattern of lines. So I'm going to show the first one in the arm, and I'm going to use a pattern of zigzag lines. So inside my arm, I'm going to go from one side to the other and just zigzag. And I'm going to repeat that pattern all the way through the entire body part. Zigzag lines from one edge of the arm to the other, all the way down. And do this all the way. Until I filled up my monster's arm. So that is one section down. Now I'm going to switch and do the other arm, but I want to change it up. So this one, maybe I'm going to use curvy lines. I'm going to do this so you guys can see it. Again, I'm repeating that same pattern of the line all the way through my entire body part. And at each section, I'm going to try to use a different line. Now I'm going to do, maybe here I want to add in some swirly lines. So I'm going to fill my section with swirly lines. And then you would continue doing that for each part of your monster. And when you're done, this is then, imagine that I filled all my body parts in. When you're done, you're going to then go and color or paint each section of your monster. And you want to try to use a variety of colors and make a silly line monster. And you can again use whatever color you want. So hoping this works out, if I use marker, if I go over my colored pencil, I'm hoping that it still shows up. And I'm going to very neatly color back and forth. And so it does, my lines still do show up with a colored pencil when I go over it with markers. Or I could choose to use crayons, or I could choose to use watercolor. And so you would go and color your entire monster in very carefully and neatly. So that's what colored pencil would look like. If I was to color it in with crayon, it still again works with a colored pencil, and it would certainly work with marker. However, with a marker, one thing you want to be careful of is if you use a black Crayola marker and you choose to paint, and if your marker will end up turning into a type of paint, so your lines, you'll lose your lines when you use watercolor over them. So that's one reason I use Sharpie, that way it doesn't bleed or run. The only thing with Sharpie is you want to make sure that you have another piece of paper underneath. If not, you see where it's kind of gone through in some areas. So then you just color your entire monster and then decide whether you want to add a background to your monster and make it colorful. That's up to you. That's an extra option. Maybe make a pattern in the background of different colors. That's entirely up to you. So keep coloring and coloring in your monster, and I can't wait to see the finished products. Thank you. Enjoy. So I wanted to come back and I wanted to show you the finished monster. I went back and I added all my different patterns to each of my sections. And I also went back through and finished coloring it with a variety of colors. So I then went after that and I made sure I added my eyes and my mouth. And then I decided that I didn't want that just plain white background. I wanted to add a little bit of color. So I went through and I added a variety of color lines going all the way down my paper. You can also go back if you choose. I could have gone over and I could have painted over the crayons and the paint would show through, the crayons would show through the paint. However you choose to do the background is up to you. But make sure that each section of your monster, each of the different body parts, so the arm, the leg, the stomach, the neck, the head, the antennas or ears, have a different pattern to them. And remember, a pattern is a repeating shape or line or color that repeats itself over and over again. So each section, a different type of line pattern, and then make sure you color. So that is the finished product. Enjoy!